First of all, when we talk about this subject, back to the roots, and we need to ask ourselves a very important question. Why do we need to talk about this subject? Back to the roots. Back to the roots means back to the Quran and Sunnah, back to Islam in general. Why do we need to talk about this subject? I think we need to talk about this subject for mainly two reasons. One reason is related to the dunya, but it is connected to the akhirah. And the other important reason, which is the reason for the akhirah. Now, let us talk about those two reasons that compel us to talk about this important subject, back to the roots. The first one is we need to be back to the roots as Muslims, because Muslims, when the Prophet ﷺ was sent and he established the Islamic State and he established the Islamic civilization, Muslims became the greatest ummah. And we used to be the greatest ummah for almost 1,000 years. We were the greatest ummah for almost 1,000 years. And no humanity, or there is no time where humanity benefited from any civilization as they benefited from the Muslim civilization, when the Muslim civilization was dominant. And Allah Jalla wa Ala created us and sent to us the best of prophets. Allah Jalla wa Ala sent to us the best of speech. Allah nazzala ahsan al-hadith kitaban mutashabiha, which is the Quran. And Allah Jalla wa Ala sent the best of prophets. The Prophet ﷺ said, I am the master of Bani Adam, I am the best of Bani Adam. So we should be the best of nation. And when we were following the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when we were following the traditions of Islam, the roots of Islam, we were the best of nations. And that Abbasi Caliph, Harun al-Rashid, when one time he opened the window and he looked at a cloud and he said, go, put your rain wherever you want, because it will come back to me. And this shows how big the Islamic State was. The Islamic State during the four rightly guided Khalifa was bigger than any state now. The Islamic State during the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab, then followed by Uthman, then followed by Ali ibn Abi Talib, was bigger than any state now. Is bigger than even America. It covers most of the peninsula, Iraq, Syria, part of and Egypt, part of Persia, which is known as Iran now, part of Africa. This is during the very early stage of Islam. And then when the Umayyan period came, the Islamic State became even bigger and bigger, and it reached some parts of China. And some historians said that it has reached parts of Malaysia and other places during the Umayyan period. And the Umayyan period ended 132 after the Hijrah. And no one could mess around with the Islamic State or with any Muslim whatsoever. And then after the Islamic State, the Umayyan Islamic State, which ended 132, the Abbasi state came, and it governed most of the, you can say, the Middle East and part of the Far East as well. It was a very huge state for almost 5 centuries, and it ended up in 656 of Hijrah. So, and at that time, although the Islamic State was subject to attacks from different states, like the Mughals attacked the Islamic State, and the Mughals were the people to destroy the Abbasi Islamic State, yet Islam was so strong, except a few years when the Islamic State of the Abbasis collapsed. But apart from that, the Islamic State was so big, honored by everyone. No one can mess around of that state. And you know the story when one of the Muslim ladies during the time of Al-Mu'tasim, it is not the story of Ammuriya, it is not anyway, just to cut it short, in one time one Muslim lady was attacked or humiliated by one of the Romans, and the Abbasi Caliph. He said that he will never go to bed nor he will have a sexual relationship with his wife unless he goes to the king of the Romans and he gives him a very hard lesson. And then he went there and they gave them very hard lesson, and he has almost conquered big part of the Roman state at that time. No one was able to mess around with Muslims at that time. And then when the Islamic State was destroyed by the Mughals in 656, as we said, or 654, within 2 years, Muslims were able to wake up immediately and to defeat the Mughals in the very well-known battle in 656 known as Ain Jalut. And just a few years after that, the Mughals who used to attack Muslims, from them or part of them started to accept Islam, and they started to build another Islamic civilization known as and then later on it became the Ottoman Empire or the Ottoman Khilafah. And the Ottoman Empire continued to rule maybe the biggest state known in history. The biggest state known in history was the Ottoman Empire, and it continued for almost 600 years. And even when it became so weak, and they used to call it the weak person, even at that time it was a big state, honored state, and no one can mess around with it. And then it was destroyed in 1924 according to the Gregorian calendar, as you know. So if you look at history, you will see that we as Muslims, we were the greatest ummah throughout history. It is just recently that we became weak, we became disunited, and because of this is what is happening to us. And that's why we need to go back to the roots in order to what? In order to become the greatest nation.